Welcome to the Life First Canada podcast. Tonight we've got Hakeem Anwar talking about Canada's digital ID blueprint. They're telling us that digital ID is about convenience and security. And I know that all of you are very aware of what's happening here in Canada and everywhere else. They're saying that, it's security, convenience, but we know that it means freedom could vanish overnight, and many are really worried. And saying no to digital ID can be challenging because, as everyone can see, we are now very much in a digital world, from being on our phones, scrolling, social media, spending hours on our computer. We are in this digital world, and it's going to be up to each and every one of us on how we allow the digital world to control us on all levels. I heard Hakeem speak on the Freedom Rising call a couple of months ago, and I thought it would be really great to discuss the challenges that we will be facing here in Canada regarding digital ID and for him to share his solutions going forward. However, before we proceed, I'm really excited to share with you how our private members are loving our private member platform. We are so excited because we're receiving so much positive feedback from everyone about the Sovereignty Activation Manual. It reads, "Sovereignty is not a rebellion. It is reclamation and remembrance." And there's everything in here from learning natural law, which is, as we know, really foundational. We have emotional and mental sovereignty. We are so anxious and burdened with so many things right now. Our devices are really distracting us. We're allowing them to distract us, and we can neglect one thing that's really needed, and that is spiritual sovereignty. So there's a whole module on spiritual sovereignty here as well, because we know that we're going to be moving through dark times, and we need to know how to ignite our own inner power, the energetic field, and really connect to our divine mind so that we can rise up out of the ashes of the illusions that we have unknowingly consented to. We also have wealth sovereignty in here as well. We live in a abundant universe, and we need to let go of the whole lack and scarcity program that our systems have really embedded. And then, of course, we also have physical sovereignty, where we discuss maxims of law, equity, trust, how to create a private membership association. It's really all about how to reclaim your status as a living man or woman in the world, energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, all of that. Because right now, this world wants to keep everyone in a very small box and have you forget that you are divinely powerful. Now, our private members meet 3 times a month, and we move through the modules in bite-sized pieces so that the information is really easy to digest. I just have 2 testimonials to share, and then we're going to move into our exciting topic. We've got Bobby, and she wrote, "I took the Law for Mankind course and felt like I needed more. And then I attended the Sovereign Living Conference and knew this is where I needed to be." And then Jerry wrote, "I was sitting on the sideline for years. I was a watcher for a very long time." I think there's a lot of watchers out there in the world. "When I signed up today, it was because I haven't found any other organization that is so closely aligned with who I am and what I believe. I feel like I'm coming home." I love it. And then Kathy from Calgary, "I was inspired to join because I've been on this journey for a very long time, and I'm excited to learn more and get back on the path. And of course, be with a like-minded community." So thank you. Now, for those who are interested in becoming a private member, you can visit our website at lifeforcecanada.ca. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about maxims of law and how we can apply them in our daily lives. So if you want to join us for that, I recommend you sign up. And Karen Hanna will most likely be putting the link in the chat as well. Yes, there she is. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Okay, thanks, Ray. Greetings from Cochrane. Excellent. Carol, remember, yes, equals putting the pieces back together. Love it. Okay, breathe in life force energy, everyone. This is the power that moves you out of stress and fear and into freedom, my friends. Our life force energy. Okay. Hakeem is a professional software engineer and technologist who was awake to the surveillance agenda. Hakeem believes in using technology for good. And in 2019, he began running technology infrastructure for the Freedom Cell Network. I think everybody here knows the Freedom Cell Network and the Greater Reset, helping bring countless people all over the world together under one purpose to live freely. And this was the true power of technology. So in 2021, Hakeem founded Above, a conscious technology company that develops technology that respects and empowers the user. I'm going to have him share all about his products after the interview. He's also the founder of Take Back Our Tech, an educational initiative that publishes free guides on using friendly, private, and open source software. Love it, open source, yes. Okay, so after the interview, Esther's going to be handling the Q&A portion of the podcast. If you have questions for Hakeem, I recommend that you ask your questions in the chat. Esther's going to share an example of the question format in the chat so that she can find them with ease. So appreciate everyone doing that. That'd be great. Welcome, Hakeem.
Karen, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me. Yes, excited to be with you all.
I want you just to tell us a bit about your story and how you became aware of the agenda, the transhumanism world that we're now living in.
I was lucky enough to be introduced to the freedom movement, the truth movement, conspiracies at a fairly young age in college, and I had a good mentor, and so I ended up not paying attention to my studies and instead getting a bachelor's degree in conspiracies. So I went all the way down the rabbit hole. And it just led me to being skeptical, but also a black sheep. So whenever I graduated, I kind of just didn't fit in. And with the companies that I would work at, and I've worked for billion-dollar companies, I've worked for companies where I'm the only one working on the tech, and just asking myself, like, hey, where is this all going? It just doesn't feel fulfilling. And so that takes me to the height of my career in 2019, where I was working in New York City. And of course, the very next year, I just saw the whole world flip upside down and realized I wasn't going to build the digital prison around myself. I wasn't going to do that. So I went back home. I decided to social movements like the Freedom Cell Network, and as at that time, I just became even more aware of how important this data is, working with just kind of seeing everything on the back end and realizing like this is the most important thing when technology is used to bring people together. And so since then, I've been educating. I have lots of content, videos, and articles on how one can make their device more private, what life looks like, what tools you should be using, all about open source. So if you're interested in that, you can go to takebackourtech.org. I also have a Substack. And then the demand for this education was so high, eventually, like we realized we need to just make it easier for people. And so the team, which was volunteers at first, we decided to create a phone because we needed a secure way to communicate with each other. But then it turned out to be so good, we wanted to share it. So that's Above Phone. And so we've been around since 2021. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years, but things are still going, and we're just still, the consciousness is still just starting to spread. So I feel like we're on the tip of this one.
I agree, absolutely. Now we are very aware at Life Force about digital ID. It's already here in Canada. Our provincial premier here in Alberta, she just announced a few weeks ago that our healthcare card is now going to be digital, and the driver's license that's going to be next, they said. So we know it's the Agenda 2030 initiative. However, I also know there's a lot of people who have no idea about the consequences of digital ID, or they're just waking up to it, they're just learning about it. What are your thoughts on how this digital ID system is going to roll out?
Canada is pretty interesting. They're taking the more Western approach, where the federal government is leading it to the provincial governments to make their own decisions. And so Canada's a bit of a mixed bag. But like you pointed out, Alberta's got My Alberta, which is their digital wallet, and now it looks like they're actually they're rolling it out. Now it's available and it's operational. It's ready for people to use. British Columbia, as where digital ID is mandatory, right? Because they snuck it in your driver's license renewal. You also have to sign up for this health services card. But little did you know, it's got your biometric and legal identity. And when it gets put together, your biometrics and your legal identity, and you actually present them, whether that be a bank or whether that be for your driver's license, that's all that's needed to create a digital identity and or digital ID, excuse me. So what people need to be super aware of now is that this will slowly start to spread. You know, the other provinces like Quebec have confirmed a program or they suspended it, so it's not really on a timeline, but this will spread everywhere. So I just finished writing a report where I studied digital ID on 6 different continents to understand how it worked. I traveled to the EU to see what Europeans thought, and I left one day before the biometric entry exit requirements. And so, yeah, everything I learned, I wrote up in a report, and I'll share with you here. Right now, the best thing you can do is to be very careful about anything that requests biometrics from you. And you might start to see it in your bank accounts or any financial transactions. You must find different ways to verify. The reason I say this is because these are side channels to get your legal identity and your biometrics combined. And so in places like Russia, they have a system called Gosluki, which is their digital ID system there. And what they did was they didn't have biometrics for everyone, and they didn't ask people to. The banks had biometrics that they did for know your customer laws. And so eventually they just told the banks, hey, we need access to that. And they just used it, right? It became the basis for their biometric ID. Similarly, in Australia, their digital ID system, they're like, wait a minute, we already have this data in our driver's license database. Let's just use it. So it's not just a single point of failure. There are many ways this could come at you from, and so people need to be very cautious.
Thank you, Hakeem. I'm just going to ask our listeners here, how many of you are afraid of digital ID? And if so, what fears are coming up for you the most in regards to banking, not being able to maybe go into a grocery store? Excellent, Peter. No fear. And so if you do have fears or any stress about it, let us know. It's important.
Fear
Yes.
has 2 meanings. Forget everything and run, face everything and rise. I love that. And I
Yes.
And to invert this, I think this is the best gift that these people could have given us. I
Oh,
was I was on Corbett earlier today, and I'm like using the story because I think it makes a lot of sense. It's in the old world, but Hernan Cortez and his Spanish army, they arrived on the banks of what is now Mexico, and Hernan Cortez was like, "We're gonna conquer the Aztecs, all 600 of us," and they didn't know what they're going into. It's like this unknown forest. They had no idea. And then he turned around and he burned the boats. So there was no way to get back to this homeland. So as we're watching these digital ID walls go about around us, there's no going back. So it's a gift because we're in a transition period, and everyone here has just as much of a right to say where the planet's going to go as anyone else. So right now is all about figuring and creating those systems, and that's what Life Force Canada is already doing. You guys are far ahead of many groups.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we have a t-shirt and it says face everything and yeah, face everything and rise. Yeah.
Face it and then run.
Yeah, right. So again, so many have had moments, right, of where the imagination runs wild and we see a dystopian world. Why is this important in regards to knowing about the pressing risks to a worldwide digital ID rollout?
Yeah, so digital ID is one piece of what is called digital public infrastructure. And this is an idea from the United Nations Development Program, also intertwined as the World Bank. And so they believe that modern countries must do three things properly. One, they need to have digital ID. This is why they spend billions of dollars in developing countries in Africa and South America. They spend so much money so that they will document the the many people in these countries that aren't documented. There's no ID at all. They're off grid. They're free range. So that's the problem. So digital ID is the first step to make sure that they have an identity, they can be tracked. The second piece is unified payment infrastructure, which is a way to connect a monetary system with the digital identity. So what people usually see this as is central bank digital currencies, but it doesn't have to be central bank digital currencies. It could just as easily be PayPal, or it could just as be easily be your bank account, right? Once that digital ID is created and you use it to sign into your bank account, I mean, hey, that's a unified payments infrastructure. So in India, they have the Aadhaar, which is a very mature digital ID system. And there's also a crazy UPI, payment system there that does about 7,000 transactions per second. And so digital payments will be pushed onto people. They'll start to become the main ways to pay for things. So that's the second piece of it. The last piece of DPI is called data exchange. And so this is where many different factors of your life, any interactions you have with governments and businesses are published onto some sort of network where everyone is reporting everything that you're doing. And that way, many different governmental organizations can learn about what you're doing. And this also makes it possible. This is kind of why digital ID and digital public infrastructure, this is called the control grid. That's its main purpose, right? There's a surveillance grid that we all know about, which is this things like Palantir, if you've heard about that. It's just keeping an eye on what you're doing. But this is the control grid. Whereas if you don't pay your taxes or you jaywalk, it's published onto this data exchange and it could impact everything else in the system, right? You could get a black mark on your digital identity. And so that's the real danger here is to be locked out of everything that you deal with on a basis just from one single action. And that's happened. I can talk about what happens in Russia or in China.
Yes, I was listening to a government spokesperson in Europe regarding the rollout of their national ID card, and they're saying we're willing to look at what works when it comes to tackling illegal migration and ensuring that we can address some of the drivers of illegal, migration. And we're doing everything we can to crack down on illegal working. So I can see it. It's problem, reaction, solution. So what do you think Canadians are going to expect?
Totally right. Like this app you have on your phone is going to stop people from taking boats into your country. It's total clown world. What can Canadians expect? And this is, yeah, this is a blessing. I think we have more time than other countries. Most definitely more time than Asian countries seem to be the farthest along. They just really don't care what people think. I'd say Canada and the US have maybe the longest runway, but it doesn't mean that it's not already here. Like obviously we talked about earlier, BC already has a digital ID. Alberta, it's available there, and then And then there's actually a good amount of provinces that don't seem like they have plans for a digital ID system. But this can change overnight because the framework is there. And so this is something, what we need to do right now is we need to make sure we have resilient networks at the local level where we need to inform people that this is coming, this is happening everywhere. You know, from studying the world, it's about 90% of countries that have something operational or will have something operational in the next 2 years. If you want to escape this, you could go to Antarctica, you could go to the war-torn Middle East, you can go to the Amazon rainforest. They're not places where you want to escape the harsh winters, right? It's not for expats. It's places where, it's very hard to fit in. So this is happening everywhere. And so we must stay and face the fear, which you guys are doing. Um, so where I could go with that too is we have about 2 years, I believe, when Western countries may start to see a unified digital ID app. I'll share what's going on in America is they have these mobile driving licenses, right? They have asked people to use these instead of their passports and their physical driver's license. So, having this used against you in order to fly is a very likely occurrence. The surprise renewals at the driving license office is also a very likely occurrence. Even in the United States, there have been 5 states that are typically more conservative and more like freedom oriented, Florida, Texas, Wyoming, states like these, that now biometrics are required in order to renew your ID. So really, you should be asking yourself, am I okay with having an expired driving license? And at what level? And what will life look like if my driving license expires? These are realities. Because once you go into the office and you show your legal identity and you tie it with your biometric identity, that's all that's needed from that point on. Then the digital identity can be created for you. There's nothing you need to do from that point on. They can create it on their end. They'll issue it for you. You don't necessarily need to download the app or anything. It exists. And for instance, it could be used for your car registration. And now, yeah, I mean, it's doesn't need your interaction from that point onwards. I'll just finish it with this example in Russia, where they use the biometric information from the banks. And now, because they have that legal identity and they have the biometrics, all of the cameras in the Moscow metro and the bus system can figure out people's identities. And there's a legal precedent for finding people. So right now, they're trying to get people to fight the war in Ukraine. And you get randomly selected from a lottery and you get the notice and you have 20 days to act on the notice. But if you don't, then they will just find you like when you're riding the subway or you're at a checkpoint. So that's where these things are going long term. And that's why it's really important. The best thing you can do is be super cautious of your biometrics.
Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I was just in the Amazon on the river, and you're right. You definitely don't want to live there.
Anacondas are digital ID. Well, you made it back safe, so
Yes,
it's
and I actually had an anaconda placed on my lap.
oh my God. Are they
Yes.
nice? Are they like puppies?
Thankfully, it was a young anaconda,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was a great photo moment. Beautiful place, but definitely would not want to live there. Yeah, most people they don't realize a lot of where this is all headed. And I know, as I mentioned earlier, that the government and everyone is promoting this as convenience and it's going to be security, etc. I just saw on Instagram a woman, she was at an airport, and I'm not too sure where this was, but she opted out of the facial recognition and they let her go. And so I want you to talk a little bit about,
Yeah.
potential in regards to how Canadians can opt out of the surveillance system. I know there's so many that are so afraid of losing their bank accounts, that maybe their bank accounts will be frozen or they won't be able to go to the grocery store, as we talked about as well. because of or they're promoting something on social media or whatever that looks like. So let's just talk about opting out and what that can look like.
Yeah, I mean, if you're traveling, it's always worth saying, hey, I don't consent to biometric capture. You need to provide me an alternative to verify my identity. Do you have a person there? Can I speak to a supervisor? And just being very insistent on that. Because like I said, combining your legal identity with your biometrics, it's potentially over at that point. Um, Another thing that you can do is some of you might have be noticing the KYC checks that many payment processing services or banks are doing, right? Hey, do you want to sign in with your biometrics? Here's a tip is you can basically disable your webcam or not give your browser permission to share your webcam and basically just refresh that over. And then on the second try, or maybe even the third try, it'll say, hey, I guess your webcam's not working. Do you want to try the manual way? So there are tricks to not go along with whatever they're trying to impose on you. Another thing that is very useful, and I wish I had known about this earlier for my friends, but it takes time to roll these digital ID systems out. So in the bigger cities, like my Canadian geography is bad, but like Vancouver and stuff, if you go to driver's license offices there, they will probably have the infrastructure they need to enroll you into it. Or in BC, right? It's probably at the bigger cities where you're going to have to. But if you go to the most rural part of BC and try and find an office there, it's less likely. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. They might be really on top of it and have done it everywhere in a particular province. But this is kind of where it falls on y'all's shoulders to coordinate and crowdsource the intelligence to figure out where this stuff is rolled out. I mean, in that case, it might be possible to renew your ID in BC, right? Maybe there's one office there that doesn't have it. And this is something I'm interested in is how do we crowdsource this information a little bit better?
Right.
So, going from the big cities to rural, even for travel, the checkpoints to smaller airports. I would really love to go back to Europe. I loved Italy, and I'm very sad I'm not going to be able to go back. So what I'm going to try is I'm going to try going to smaller countries and smaller airports.
That's a really good idea. Hmm. So saying no requires knowing what they're asking for, why, and what the consequences of refusal is, right?
Yes, yes, for sure. And in some countries, like J Japan, they can just turn you away at the border. But I think that there is more of a right to opt out when you are a citizen of that country. At least that's what it's like in the United States. Every time I talk to like Border Patrol, I just say, "Oh, I thought of a really funny thing to say recently." Here they always ask you when you say, I don't want to do the biometric picture," and they have to ask you why. You have to give a reason. And I'm going to just start saying, because I want to make sure you have a job. Because if, it's just that if the AI is going to do it, they're going to fire you, man. I thought that was funny, but I, yeah, like, so always opt out is the moral of the story, and be insistent on it. Plan your trips so you have space to do this kind of stuff. And again, yeah, it's not guaranteed, right? Like this is kind of just this is the best practice. It's not a guarantee. You could still potentially be turned away at your flight. And I know that's scary, but you just have to stand in your authority.
Beautiful. Who here is going to be outright refusal of any digital ID? Just say no in the chat. Who's going to be opting out? So refusing digital ID is about choice and sovereignty. Yes. This is great. I'm loving this. Thank you so much, Hakeem. So many of us are addicted to our phones. Everyone's scrolling these days. How are our devices important to the digital ID agenda?
Yeah, the tech aspect of it is a very big way they'll increase adoption. And I learned how this would happen by looking at the COVID-19 pandemic and when they started to do contact tracing. which if people are using a big tech device, I don't think they realized, their device they're using is pre-hacked. So these companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, they can do whatever they want to your device. So in the case of the contact tracing in Massachusetts, no one wanted to download the contact tracing app. No one was doing it. There was like 5,000 people out of millions of people in Massachusetts. So Google made a deal with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health and just automatically installed a contact tracing app on people's phones, right? So digital ID won't be popular. Humans hate change. They're gonna have to offer them the donuts and the fries and all the stuff.
Right.
It's it's gonna take a while, but that's like kind of when you're getting serious. And they have a timeline. Actually, I should have started with that, right? 2027 is like the next important milestone where you're gonna see the kind of the mandate by proxy where more businesses will start to accept it, and then it'll become a choice in every interaction. Whereas before, you didn't have the option of digital ID. Now it will be there. It'll be put in your face. They'll be promoting it just like at the airport. And the next 3 years after that, to 2030, is the sprint to try to get everyone to use digital ID. So that might be when they start to automatically install it on your phone, make it kind of enabled in the background, or make it really easy to opt in. You already did Face ID on your iPhone, right? Just tap this button. We'll take care of the rest. So using these big tech devices, unfortunately, sets you up for this type of failure. And the only way to protect yourself is to use a device that doesn't connect to big tech services at all. So that's what we do with a Buff phone.
It's amazing. I know that there's a lot of people saying no, that they're going to opt out. It's going to be, where do we draw the line in our life? Because I know that there's going to be people who have pensions, and in order to receive their pension, for example, they might have to get digital ID. Those who have disabilities, etc. So I know as we're moving forward, there's going to be a line in the sand that's drawn, that we're going to say no to everything, but there's going to be moments where there's going to be a have to. And I just want everyone here to know, if you ever have to say yes to it, it's like, we are not here to judge ourselves. We need to have compassion with ourselves. And if you're saying yes to anything, or you've already said yes to digital ID in some way, we're not here to judge you. We're not here to criticize you at all. We're just here to give you ideas and options for moving forward, and how we can all really stand in our sovereignty and our freedom here. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that.
That's really
Okay.
good that you said that, right? Because I mean, some of us might be forced. It might feel like we are forced, and it's really important not to turn our back on each other because eventually they'll come back around. And who knows, they might even be useful to have a digital ID, even though they make that choice. Sometimes you need to get in the system. So
Yes, yes. Well, in Calgary here, the past few years, I've been observing, and it's happening everywhere, most likely, is how our Safeways, our grocery stores, our Sobeys, etc., they're all putting in the gates at the front door. You walk in the front door, and now they have these gates. And I know that's going to be for a digital ID eventually. And it's funny, well, not really funny, but my one of my girlfriends, her husband, we have the Alberta wallet now.
mhm.
And so they're really promoting, get the Alberta wallet, and you can have, all of your cards and just put it into one place. Convenience.
So easy.
Yeah, right? So easy. And her husband did this, and she's so upset with him. And then she moved through her upset, and she said, well, at least he's done it now. I don't have to do it. So now he can be the one that goes
Signed up for
shopping or
groceries
whatever,
for
right?
life.
Yes.
That's hilarious. What One thing I'll mention about this too, when talking to your friends and family who may not think exactly like us or be as freedom focused and not understand why it's important. What most people do understand is identity theft, and that's a very real possibility with these digital ID systems. They're not mature yet to the point where they can, like, let's say you use your digital ID to verify with a liquor store or anything really. It depends on which system they use, but some of them don't even have safeguards. So if you prove your identity to something, they can then use your identity to impersonate you. And so you thought that getting your identity stolen was bad. What about your digital identity, your biometric identity? Like that's really bad. And so that's something that'll people will listen to when you speak to others.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, let's just dive deeper into the problem and then I'll have you share solutions. So, can you discuss how our devices are spying on us?
Yeah, so there's many ways, and it's constantly changing because these are pre-hacked devices. So basically, whenever they feel like doing something, they will. It's a new feature. They think it'll be useful to you, meaning them. It'll be useful to them. They'll roll it out. Um, the three major ways are through the operating system, the apps, and to telecommunications providers. So we have a phone that addresses all three of these systems. But for instance, the operating system, which is like the core use, they studied Google and iPhones, Google Android phones and iPhones, and they found that on average, these phones are communicating back every 5 minutes, and they're sending large amounts of data. Um, Google was sending quite a bit more than Apple, but still they're sending very personal data. So unique identifiers to your device, your hardware, your phone number. And so these things are all being shared. Then, as well on the apps that you're using on the phone, most people don't realize this, but when you kind of just download an app without thinking, you actually will be privy, you'll be in you'll have a relationship with the 10 or 20 different companies that have made arrangements with that app. So we call these third-party trackers. And if you give an app a microphone permission, so do all those 10 or 20 other countries. And I'll bring the phone out in a second to show you this. You can actually audit it on our phone and make better choices. The last way is through telecom because phone calls and text messages are not private. They are required, at least in the United States. I don't know Canada's exact law, but I imagine it's similar to be able to be shared with law enforcement. So they also have secret databases like the Drug Enforcement Agency's Hemisphere here in the United States, which collected 40 billion call detail records. I think it was something crazy like every month. So it's this data is being collected in mass, and luckily there are other ways to communicate. Zoom is a bad example, but Zoom falls under kind of an internet-based communication service, and that's what I recommend that people start to use. So when we bring solutions, we're addressing the operating system, and we have a transparent operating system that's not spying on you. It's not connecting to one of the two big tech companies. It's not connecting to either of them. We deal with the apps. We're also using open source apps, which are primarily local first. And then lastly, we're using different things to communicate that are internet based so we can encrypt our communications.
Incredible. I would love for you to share your the options that you have available and the technical solutions that we can use instead of big tech.
Absolutely. Let me just fire up my phone here. Yeah. All right. So you should be able to see my phone. Can you see it? Is it the
Yes,
right way?
it is.
Excellent. So this is what the above phone looks like. This is one of those de-Googled phones you've probably heard so much about. And if you've used an Android phone, it's very similar, but don't worry, it's pretty easy for iPhone users as well. See, I really wanted to show my hands on the phone, but it's okay. This other camera is not working right now. So so what is cool about the phone is that you have these different privacy features. So you notice here that you can disable the microphone and camera access. So you can do that at the global level. You can also do that at the individual app level. So This you might have seen on other phones, but you can also do things like cut off apps from the internet entirely. So there are a number of apps on the above phone, such as the navigation app, or your notes, or um, parts of your communications that you can run completely offline. And so that's a really cool feature, so that your apps don't need to connect to the internet if you don't want them to. Additionally, you can do things like, so this is a feature called storage scopes, which instead of giving an app the entire access to your phone, you can select which folders you want it to have access to. So on a normal phone, once you give it the storage permission, it gets access to your entire phone. So imagine if you just did that with Microsoft or Facebook. Now they have the ability to see your entire phone. So with this phone, you can actually limit what they are seeing. So here, I'm just going to say, hey, you can use the pictures folder and nothing else. And similarly, you can do the same thing with contacts. And this is really, really important because if you think about it, you're really the combination of everyone that you know. So if you give permission to your contacts on a normal phone, you're uniquely identified, right? They know everyone you talk to now. This could be thousands of people. So on this phone, you get to choose, okay, I only want Henry Headstrong and Alice Johnson, just them. And now I only have a limited set of contacts instead of sharing everyone. So those are some of the privacy features just that you can use with any app. Then there are special app stores as well. So I was mentioning earlier about the different trackers on different apps on the phone. So I'll give you an example. Games are a really good example because they're just loaded with trackers. Here, I was looking at this one. Piano Rush. I don't know what this game is. I don't really care, but I do want to show you the so if you scroll down here to the privacy report, which is a feature of this app store called Aurora Store, they're definitely not going to tell you this in a normal app store. You see that there's 25 different companies that they have their code in this application. So Google, Pangle, Bid Machine, Super Awesome, Chart Boost, like all these different companies. And what ends up happening is these companies make their money by aggregating and collecting and cleaning up this data. And then they share it with whoever they want, law enforcement, political organizations. And so it's this way that governments can sidestep constitutional rights and could get people in trouble from it. So yeah, this phone gives you a bit more of an informed consent about what you actually put on.
This is incredible. In the chat, I know there's a few people who have an above phone. Who here has one again? Just write in the chat who here owns one. I think Susan, I think I saw Susan says she loves hers. Alex has one.
Awesome. It's great to see so many awesome above community members here. We definitely have a good amount of people in Canada, and that's exciting. We also are running a Black Friday sale currently. So until the end of the month, you're getting some good discounts on new phones. So that's worth checking out. I also have a code for everyone here for Life Force Canada. So that is LFC, which will get you $50 off of any phone. And some of our phones are like $300 to $500 off right now. So I think that should help. You know, there's customs and stuff over the border.
Thank you for that. $50 off discount, everyone. Karen Hanna put the link in the chat. Karen, if you can put the link in the chat again, that would be great. Oh, Esther did. Excellent. Thank you, Hakeem. Very good. Love it.
We could go into questions too, or I could just share more with you, whatever you'd like.
Your laptop.
Yes, the laptop. So we have a laptop. Let me just see if this guy's plugged in here. All right, so this is our laptop here. We call this it's called Above Book. And so it's using reliable hardware that's optimized to work with Linux. We wrote our own operating system to be as easy as possible. So over here, I'm like running, I'm running this local AI on the computer, and I just asked it, hey, what's a comprehensive herbal emergency kit? And it was just giving me a bunch of lists. So this is the cool type of stuff that you can do. This is a local AI. It's not connecting out to the internet. It's not sending my search anywhere. And so yes, you can get one of these and be able to do this on your own. What I'm going to do is was try to make the computer as easy to use as possible. A lot of people are worried about Linux being hard to use. I just want to show you how easy it is. Like for instance, we're all using Zoom here. So how hard is it to install Zoom? We just open the software store. Here's Zoom. You click download, you click apply, and then it'll go ahead and install it. And so that was one of our goals with this laptop is just to make it super easy to use as possible. Similarly, if you want to update the thing, just run one program, upgrade, full system upgrade, and then it'll just update your entire computer. And yeah, there's a lot of lower level security features with this. It's also a full disk encrypted, which the phone is too. The computer is as well. So if someone tries to steal your data or they get their hands on the computer, they won't be able to. They won't be able to break into it. They would because it has that full disk encryption. There's also a lot of lower level improvements we've made. I won't bore you with the technical jargon, but we've basically done everything in our power to make this as private and as secure as possible. So I'll just share a few other things with you. Well, one thing is that the browser is already set up to block ads. So on our phones and on our laptops, you don't see any ads. So it's
Yay.
really, I know, right? It's like
Exactly.
it'll give you peace of mind. And then there's different solutions you can use. So you can get an email. Let me just explain too. So you can get the phone, you can get the book, and right now, with our Black Friday sale, if you purchase a phone or a laptop, you're going to get a month free of our privacy services. And these privacy services are see. Yeah, free month of Suite. So these privacy services are really cool because you can use them across your phone or your laptop, and they let you do alternative communications. So there's ways to do encrypted chats. There's an internet phone number you can use. There's a VPN that's already built in. There's an email and calendar. So here's what the email looks like on Above Book, right? Pretty straightforward. Here's what it looks like on Above Phone. Everything's integrated nicely and it's still decentralized, right? You get this email account that ends in at above.im and it's a private email. Once you delete the email, we don't have access to it anymore. So you're really given everything that you need to make your mark in the world in a private way, in a sovereign way.
And what is your alternative to, say, Microsoft Word or PowerPoint?
Great question. So we run the software called OnlyOffice. And what I like about it is that it is open source, it's private, but it actually doesn't it doesn't need to well, it uses the native Microsoft formats. So if you wanted to work with someone on a Windows computer, this is you'll notice this, right? All of the formulas are the same and it works like you might expect. So do your accounting, things will update. I do all of my work through here. So I've got, my PowerPoints and stuff that I do. And yeah, you can still do really good professional work on this ecosystem as well. Um, I'll add one more thing because I saw a question about the phone. So once you get this phone, it works with any cell service. So, there's Rogers, there's TELUS, there's Bell. It'll work with any of those three. We also have our own cell service that I can talk about, but yeah, you would typically just switch over your service to this phone, and we can help you do that. If you get a phone or a laptop with us, we'll sit on call with you, real human, not an AI, and we'll show you how to do the stuff. We'll get you started on the phone, and it's easy to use. We have a lot of resources.
This is incredible. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a lot of questions in the chat. Esther, I'm going to pass it over to you.
First couple of questions were about the BC ID. How long ago did the BC government or did BC implement the digital ID biometrics on driver's license and medical services card? This woman notices the biometrics booth at the Service Canada office when she was there for old age security, but was set up as a volunteer if people wanted to. And so the question is, how long ago did that happen?
I think I came across the state. I want to say it was not that long ago, 2023 or 2024. I could be wrong about that. I've studied so many countries and my brain's a mush of dates, but I will say it was pretty recently, and I did research it enough to see it changed because before it was the BC Services card, it was the BC Medical Services card. There was like iterations of this. So I want to say like 2022 or 2023.
Okay, yeah, my sense is it's the last 5 years too. I'm from BC. Sherry asked, so if we already bought into the digital ID through our driver's license, even if we didn't say yes to it, do we have a choice now?
In a way, yes, you have a choice. It's choice to not further engage with it. All it takes is your legal identity and biometrics. Yes, that is really all it takes, but then there has to be legislative action from that part, or there needs to be like, okay, we're now creating a federal digital ID system, and anyone who already had biometrics, we're going to use that data. We're going to issue you a digital ID. And then at that point, it's like the ball's back in your court. They've issued a digital ID for you. It's sitting on a server somewhere. It doesn't mean you have to start using it. It means that you could just never download the app. You could say, I don't use a phone. You could try and ignore it. You would opt out of it any choice you could. Maybe it would sit in the background and do its thing. But of course, it's ideal if you just never start off with it. But a lot of people I know, a lot of freedom loving people I know, didn't even like, they really were caught off guard and they didn't have a choice. So just stop engaging with it from now on.
Great, thank you. We have a number of questions about travel, which you were talking about. Uh, Two things. One about Nexus cards, and the second one is this facial recognition. Somebody went to Europe and she tried to scrunch her face up in the when they took the picture so they wouldn't recognize, but it's done. Is there any way around that? And should we be using Nexus cards or not?
I don't know what an Nexus card is. What is that?
Oh, Trusted Traveler is the same in the US as Trusted Traveler.
Ah, yeah, that's basically the same. That's a gateway drug into digital ID, basically. Yeah, like that. So yes, try and avoid using Trusted Traveler. They have like several private companies in the US now. They've got TSA, PreCheck, and Clear, and they will sweat you with the lines at the airport. They know it's inconvenient, it's super inconvenient. That's why it is, right? They want you to do that thing. So these are all behavior change things that they're trying, but you just have to show up to the airport earlier. There's really no way around that. And I would say even if you were on these systems before, just stop engaging with them in the future because, faces do change over time. Um, so yeah. And the other question was about travel. So what to do if you're traveling to the EU. So did I say that here? I think I already said that here. I said I want to go back to the EU. And what I will do next time is I might fly into Istanbul and see if I can get a flight directly to a smaller airport from there. Similarly, Cyprus is one country in the EU that is not doesn't it's not in the Schengen zone, so it's not doing the same biometric requirements. So potentially you could take a ferry from Cyprus to somewhere else, right? But I was just talking with someone from who lives in Romania, and he says like, no, there's like nothing they're so far behind. So this just started in October, and they're rolling it out over 6 months. So in April is the EU's goal to have that in all travel checkpoints. So you have a little bit of time, but just generally, the smaller of an airport you go, the better chance you'll have. And it will take you guys crowdsourcing it to get factual information. I'm just spitballing here, and I haven't gone and see it myself, and you won't really know until you are there yourself.
Okay. We have a couple of questions about, we can say no individually, but what about mass resistance or what about group resistance collective? What would you say?
Yeah, I think that's what we're really counting on is mass non-compliance because it's going to be too big of a hit to the economy if they just try and cut out 40%, 30%, even 20% of the populace from the system. So they will have to do the whole boiling frog trick, and they really count on coercion and getting your compliance and tricking you. They won't cut you off right away. I call this compliance chicken, where they say they're going to cut you off from part of society. You call their bluff, you show up anyways. If enough people do it, they end up backing down. So it's this game of chicken that will probably pay for the next few years.
Okay, would incorporations, sorry, would incorporation be required to have a digital identity? And what kind of biometric can a corporation provide? So,
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Um, in countries with pretty robust and mature digital ID programs, you do see that. Uh, but in most of those places, like you need a digital ID to do anything. Russia, Singapore, Denmark, Estonia, these are all places that in Eurasia that have really advanced digital ID programs. We're 1 to 2 years, 1 to 3 years out from that, maybe is my estimation. Eventually it may be the likely. My advice would be create that business now, create that business yesterday, and make some money from it. You know, have different systems right now that you can do it. So at least if you're in it, then it becomes the aspect of, hey, now it's not locked off completely, but now you have to go through a renewal. And I think that's lot different than not being able to create a business in the first place.
okay. Uh, Sherry just signed to the CRA with her digital ID. How is that working? Do we have any choice around that?
What's the CRA?
Oh, it's like the IRS in Canada.
Oh, oh God. It also has a bad name.
Canada Revenue Agency.
Okay. Um, hmm. So the question was, does that have like a bad impact?
Yeah, well, we they allow us to sign or make us sign in online with our she'd signed in with her digital driver's license ID. Is
Hmm.
that a bad thing? Or, I mean, is this part of all the things that you're saying?
Yeah, so a component of digital ID systems is what we call single sign-on, and so it's just like one login for every service. And so, yeah, I mean, you're interacting with digital ID. It's definitely not great. I would say just to always use the non-digital ID option. And the reason is because, we're in this transitionary period where they need to get like 100% compliance with this. Remember, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal Target 16.9 is digital identification for everyone on the planet. And once we start to achieve like we've got the system and 80% of people are using their digital ID to log into things. What do they even need usernames and passwords for? They can kind of just get rid of that and then it'll be forced. So the more people that are opting out and using the original traditional methods we have is better overall.
Got it. If somebody, which has happened to me, I flew to California this last week and they want to take your picture and they say, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, we'll keep it anyway. What's the purpose of that? And can we actually opt out of that or not?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot harder to opt out in the US. To make, I don't, so I'll just say I'm purely speculating right here. I'm purely speculating. Um, but countries are now, it's very popular to have biometric data on visitors. And the reason they do it is for like visa purposes. So now they don't stamp your passport. You just enter the system and you do the thing, and it knows what date you came into, and it knows what date you're going to leave. And so if you're caught after that date, they have your biometrics, and that system is probably available to like border control officers, and they can verify your identity. I mean, it's gross. It's crazy. It's pretty tyrannical, but is there anything you can do to stop it? It's going to be a lot harder in the United States. I think that was like less than a week ago when that happened. But I'm gonna say the same thing, which is smaller is better. Smaller airports, border crossings. I mean, we share a land border. Go across the land border like 100% all day. Get close to the land border, drive across, get another flight from there if you need to. And also, it will probably happen at the land border checkpoints. So the smaller border checkpoints are the way to go. And that's another thing we'll need to crowdsource information on.
Okay. And what about producing an affidavit of ID as a replacement for ID?
I don't know anything about that,
Okay.
and wouldn't know if it would work.
Okay. And what about using a phone that is registered to a corporation? Will that collect different data or does it matter?
No, it shouldn't matter. I think that a phone is always tied to someone, and if you enable biometrics on the phone, I mean, Google and Apple, they know who you are from using the phone. So eventually down the line, I'm not saying it's going to be like next year, but maybe several years from now, that if digital ID systems turn on, there's enough in data on the phone for them to ascertain your identity and then even like put you behind a wall. Hey, you need to use your digital ID. We don't know who this is. So that's a possibility.
Okay. Are flip phones protected from tracking or hacking?
And there is maybe less surveillance on a flip phone, but that's just because of the features that they don't have. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're completely protected from features. They also are fairly insecure. In terms of it's unclear whether they're getting security updates. So you're kind of like trading like a little bit of privacy for a potential security risk where someone could like take your phone and break into it pretty easily. So the reason we encourage people to use phones like the above phone is because it has the best standard of security, pretty much more than any phone that a consumer can buy right now. That's like hands-on security. If someone steals your phone out of your hands, they're not going to be able to get access to your data. If someone plugs in something in when you're not looking, they're not going to be able to get access to your data. If you're crossing the border control and the customs office says, "Hey, I need to look at your phone," you can hand them this phone, and it has not been proven. It's not on any of the lists, these companies that break into phones, that they've proven that they can break into this phone. They just haven't been able to prove that they can do it. And trust me, they would love to advertise that they could. It would mean they would get a lot of money. So for all those reasons, it's best to have a more secure phone. But I can understand having a dumb phone if you just don't want all of the what's the word, stimulation from a phone like this, a smartphone.
Okay. And if we don't get your phone, the above phone, is there a best phone to get in any other context or it doesn't matter? They're all the same in terms of surveillance.
I would steer people towards like a de-Googled phone. So, these are running an open source operating system. For those of you that are technical, you can do this yourself. What we're doing at Above is we're just making sure you get up and running as soon as possible. No one likes to mess around with tech, but if you wanted to, you could go and learn how to do this. Look up Graphene OS. You can install the operating system on your phone. You can get the apps, you can set it up, you can provision yourself. It's just a bit of a process. So we try and save time for people and give them like dedicated support, guaranteed support, all those types of things. So that's what you're getting when you go with us. And yeah, I think that any phone that is running an alternative operating system, or like a few names, or like Lineage OS, Graphene OS, those are the two that I recommend right now. I know some people mentioned in the chat a Brax phone, which although I don't really agree with what he says. I mean, I would say it's more private than a regular phone. I would not buy one over a normal Google device, but hey, it's another option.
Thank you. If digital ID and all of this is such a good idea, why are they using force to get us to adopt it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, hey, technically it's not forced. It's never mandated. It's mandated by proxy. So they will get the banks to start to push it. It's just like COVID all over again. In fact, the COVID health pass and these digital IDs use the same technologies in some cases. So it won't be them directly telling you that you have to use this. It'll be the whole ecosystem around you starting to use it and starting to support it. And that's why the most important thing you can do right now is go in your local community, find the people who could potentially provide for your day-to-day needs, milk, eggs, um, produce, um, um, shopping, anything that you need to do, and talk to them about these issues. Share with them the digital ID report, which I'll put the link in here. This is kind of like I put everything I know about digital ID into this report. It's at bophone.com/digital, and that'll take you to the page. And sit and think about it and study it and start to have these conversations with people. And so the best thing you could do right now is say, hey, I really like what we have here. We have this relationship and that's person to person. Please, can we make a promise that I will never put a digital ID in front of you and you do the same for me? And enough people do that, that's more valuable than any digital ID system.
Thank you. There are a bunch of questions here about the above phone. Let's say I'll try and consolidate them. If somebody has an above phone, can they still communicate with somebody who has an iPhone or a generic phone or any other kind of phone? And how does it impact them, say, downloading apps from other sources? And will it prevent those apps from doing what you said earlier, which is getting all your data?
Yes, great questions. Let's go over the basics. So remember, it works with any cell service. So when you plug cell service into the phone, this is what it looks like. You dial your number. See, bump, 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 bump. I don't know Canadian numbers, but you dial your number, you press dial, it dials, or you can add them to your contacts and do the same thing. Super straightforward. If you want to write a text, this is the text messaging app. So I can pick my contact. Here we go.
Can you do
And
group texts?
you can do group text, although I'll encourage everyone, if you are going to do a group text, make sure you're the one to create a group text because it works better. So you can create a text and then you can speak into the phone. You can use the offline voice keyboard and write messages to people, right? So straightforward. Now, if for a lot of people on iPhone, they use FaceTime and iMessage. So iMessage has this ability to send like really long, large videos. That's actually not a part of text messaging. So you'll lose that ability, but you do have the ability to do something like FaceTime. So that is called Jitsi. And this is part of our suite of software services. So you join a call that looks like this. So you can join the meeting and you can invite others. So you get this link, right? You can copy it and then you can send it to your friend. Let's see. Yeah, you can send it to whoever you want to. Let's see. Paste that in there and then they can also join that way. So this is like a full-on Zoom conference and you can have groups of up to 40 people in here. So it's a complete alternative that you can use. They don't need to have an above phone. They can have a Mac, they can have an iPhone, they can use whatever they want. One last thing that I'll mention is this internet phone number. So this is like having two phones on one. And with this solution, you don't even need a SIM card. You just need to be connected to the internet. So you can be connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot. You could be connected to your local cafe. This thing is plugged in with Ethernet, so I'm getting no radiation right now. As soon as I put it on airplane mode, that is, and I can still make phone calls. And so with this solution, you will pick out a US or Canadian number. You pay $5 a month, and you get to make international calls and texts. But instead of using the dialer, you use this app. So that's a really, really cool feature I recommend checking out.
And do you have manual, like I know you have tech support and several people have vouched for that. Do you have manuals if somebody or we go online and look about how to use it?
Yes, great question. We have a lot of different resources. So on the home screen here, there's a little start here guide, and
Mhm.
this will get you up and going. You can see like older phone, get up to speed, first steps, phone settings. Here's how to change your PIN. Here's how to navigate the phone. So there's a lot of good stuff here. We also have we also have a video library that we use, and so you'll get access to that. You can always chat with us. See, here's a little chat button, and you can actually just start talking to someone right away. And every phone comes with a free call with a real person where we will show you any questions you have. Typically recommend going through the setup guide on your own, and then those advanced questions you have, you save those for the call, and we'll help you out.
Great. Now, if somebody already has a plan, let's say they're 6 months into a 2-year plan for their phone, and someone asked this, do they do they have to continue paying for that plan and pay up for a plan with you guys, or they just buy the tech and it comes with a service agreement?
Yeah, so their existing phone, so their existing phone is locked, but I do think they can take their existing phone service and put it in the above phone. I don't think that's a problem. They just, will kind of have an extra old phone laying around.
Okay. And is buying a travel hotspot like Gloco or Global Me a good way to stay somewhat more private? No public Wi-Fi ever, but expensive. Do you know about that?
In some ways it can help. Um, yeah, in some ways it is a little bit more private because it's not running directly off your cell service, but it depends what you're comparing it to. An above phone connected to, cell service, I think is more private than a Gloco hotspot because I don't know what code those phones run or those devices run. But for instance, we have a data SIM that you can use, or you could use any eSIM, and you can actually enable this. Let me see if I can show you guys. You can actually have multiple eSIMs, and you can choose which one you want to run. Sims. Oh, okay. Well, I have it on airplane mode. That's why. So if I take it off airplane mode, I can go into it. And normally you can have like eSIMs for different countries. You can choose which one you want on, and then you can turn on the hotspot. Here you can kind of see this hotspot down there, and you can use this phone as a hotspot, and it works really, really great. Last thing I'll mention is that we have a data SIM option. So this is not like a cell service that comes with a phone number. This is a eSIM that will provide you data wherever you need to go. So we have Canada as a region, and it's really easy to set up. So I go here, and you can see it. Okay.
And that's an additional plan that someone would pay for.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's an additional plan. So, they start at $30 and they can go up to 25 gigabytes a month. It's more expensive, but it's really fast data and it's private. What's really cool too is you can get these ones that are prepaid, and you can plan later on. You can activate these a year later. So, the data in Canada is fairly expensive. We also, for those of you that travel places, we've got data in other places, the UK and Europe, which covers the UK and Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Mexico.
And this is, of course, a US company, so everything's in US dollars.
That's right. Everything is in US dollars. I'll put the link to the data sim if anyone's interested.
Okay, and uh, all your prices are listed when people go to your website, right?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, And I think you mentioned this, but I'll just ask for you to confirm. Does the above phone run on its own system, or do you still have to use the providers like TELUS, Rogers, Bell, etc.?
You have options. So if you're out of the house, you're out of the range of a Wi-Fi network, you need to have cell service, so Telus, Bell, Rogers. But if you want to use this phone without cell service, that means you need to be near a Wi-Fi network, you need to be near an Ethernet cord with working internet, and then you can use this internet phone number. But that's fairly limited. So what most people do is some people will use it with Wi-Fi only. Most people use it with a eSIM or eSIM so they can communicate when they're out of the house.
Great. And the $50 discount, it applies to all of your products on this Black Friday sale, correct?
It provide yes, it'll be for the phones and for the laptops. You'll get $50 off the phones or the laptops.
Okay. And you mentioned Linux. Is the above book like Linux, or does it use Linux, or
Yes, my apologies if I didn't mention that. So the above book is using Linux. Linux is the third choice. It's the open source operating system, and it is really easy to use. It can be made more private. Our version, so we built our own operating system off of something called Arch Linux. It's known for being like new, like whenever there's a new version of a software, you could just start using it right away. And it actually makes it more stable, and you have so many different things to choose from. I think you'd be surprised here. Let me just pull up my software store. But the types of things that you can download, for instance, if you wanted to get Spotify, you can get Spotify. If you wanted to use YouTube, there's a version of YouTube called FreeTube, and you can search things. Let's see.
would it be searching YouTube?
It is searching YouTube, but because the computer uses a VPN, it's doing it privately.
Yep.
So that's part of the above suite. But yeah, like, so look, check it out. You could see you can even download videos and stuff. Let's see. I think I just need to update this. But yeah, so that's an example of what the different apps are. And it is Linux. It is extremely private. It's secure. We designed it this way, and it's a really good starting computer for Linux.
Great. How easy is it to upload contacts or information or transfer your data from a regular PC or a Mac or an iPhone or a generic phone to one of
It's
your devices?
It's pretty easy. We know all the best ways how. We know the quickest ways how. On the first setup call you do with us, you get about an hour of phone time with us. We'll show you exactly what you need to do. It's also laid out in our tutorials.
Okay. And is the data, like for instance, emails or documents you create, etc., is it stored on the computer, not the cloud?
So everything for the suite, there is an element of that is stored in the cloud, and that's so you can have multiple devices that are, you're able to add a new device and you can pull that information down. We do have it to where there's no logging on our services, so that'll improve your privacy. But if you want, there are many things, like most of the things you do on your computer are local first. It's really only above suite that is interacts with the cloud. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot, you can do anything locally, but mail is always going to require a connection to a cloud or a service outside a computer that's your own.
Okay, and how large is the hard drive capacity? Are we talking terabytes? Can you run graphic or publishing software like Photoshop, Premiere, etc.?
So you have options with your computer purchase. So if you go to shop, yeah, let me just mention the phones. So this is the phone that I mean, it's like actually our biggest and baddest phone. It's the phone I've been showing you guys. It's got a 6.8 inch screen, so it's quite a big phone, but this is a really cheap price for it. We've also got this Pixel 8, which is more of a budget model. It's a last year's phone, but it's also really good. It can do everything the 9 Pro XL can do, but it's just not as fast. And we've also got these other devices down here, the 9A, which is a great phone, and the 7A for the budget pick. You can also get 2 packs of devices as well. So if you wanted to get one for you and a partner, then you can have private communications between each other. You could totally do that. Then for the laptops, you have options. So this is the Carbon above book, and you have anywhere from 1 terabyte to 4 terabytes of storage on it. Now, Adobe Photoshop, that is limited to that's limited because Adobe won't let you run products here, their products on, open source systems because they've just locked it down. But there are many other tools for illustration. So, like for instance, if I wanted to come here, look up graphic design, there is Akira, and there's GIMP. There's a lot of different solutions for designing graphics on the above book. So just talk with us and we can share them with you.
Can you open Adobe files in any of those softwares?
Yes, I think you can. I think you can import Adobe files in many
Okay.
of these. Let me see.
Because most of the world has been using that for their graphic design, so they wouldn't want to start over.
Oh, not in this one, but I know there's GIMP and stuff which you can work with Photoshop files.
Okay, so that would be if someone's going to buy this, they would need to ask those questions if they were going to use the computers or phones for that purpose. And they'd have to get pretty specific, yeah?
Yes, yes, they should ask us, and the way you can ask us is there's a little chat with us button here on the bottom right, and you can start a conversation here. We're around from 9 to 5 p.m. Central Time during the week, so there'll be real people ready, and we can answer you after hours as well.
And if somebody doesn't want to buy one of your devices, do you have software that they can use on their own PCs or laptops or phones?
Yeah, so I've written material on how to install Linux on your own computer, and I've got recommendations. What's it called? How to install Linux. Hold on. All right. Cool. So there's this article here, which I'll put in the comments. And this will guide you through how to install Linux on your computer. I did this all the way back in 2021. And I've got some recommendations here. I go through how to back it up, and I have some recommendations for other operating systems. They're not our own, but they're other operating systems that I respect and work pretty well. So yeah, you could follow this guide, and you can always contact me if you need any help. We also have a Telegram, which is it's Take Back Our Tech on Telegram. If you search it, you can ask in there, and there's a bunch of friendly people who will help.
Awesome. Sometimes when people are sending SMS between phones or between countries, there will be a fee. Canadians don't have that in Canada. Americans don't have that within America, but internationally, there could be subject to fees. Would that happen with above phones to any of the other places? You talked about your SIM and how you do that, but would there be fees?
Remember, there's two different phone numbers you can have on the above phone.
Yes.
One is the one that comes with your service. So if you're using your service, Rogers, Telus, Bell, it's up to them, whatever they normally charge for international text. Actually, though, this is one of the ways that our service is superior. If you use our internet phone number service, you can do international text messages, and I don't think it's not an additional charge. So that's pretty amazing. And it's only $5 a month, and you can pay in Bitcoin. Now, what they do charge more for is international calls. I think that is much better than a normal phone.
Okay, we're actually almost coming to the end of the questions. This is amazing. What are the disadvantages of the advanced phone or laptop? Is there anything you won't be able to do? You talked about Photoshop, but is there anything else?
If you're pretty dependent on Microsoft Suite, you'll lose that ability. If you're dependent on iMessage or kind of the ways Apple computers are connected to their phone, you won't have that particular system anymore. But there's other things you can do. So it's mainly related to those. I think Photoshop is one of those. If you're like super reliant on Photoshop, don't expect an easy transition to other software here. You might want to keep a computer specifically for that purpose. What this does really well, it does office work, does web browsing, It's a really good tool for knowledge, for development, for productivity. Let me think. It's really most of the things that are just reliant on big tech services. You wouldn't be able to do the same way on this computer.
Okay, and can the big companies, Google, Apple, etc., download our data if our phones are on airplane mode or turned off?
Yeah, they just wait. They're just yeah, they'll collect it, and when they get internet again,
So it's a
they'll
wolf at
reach
the
out.
door. As soon as you turn it back on, there it goes.
There, yeah, there's guys like myself, probably much smarter than myself, who sit around all day and do nothing but figure out how to collect data. It's crazy. It's super crazy and sad. And I think a lot of those guys are being fired now. So hopefully they'll start building something better for humanity.
Okay, we're almost at the end here. If somebody is reliant on Microsoft Suite, I'll say that that would be me. It's my whole life. It's
Hmm.
my business. That's everything I do. Mostly Word, Outlook, and Excel with the
Hmm.
occasional PowerPoint. Is it going to be a hard transition?
No, I think you'll have the best time. I came from that world too. I went to business school. That's all we used. And then OnlyOffice, I'm really, really happy with it because it's using all of the native Microsoft formats. And look, they did a really good job. They did a really good job making it. Here's a Word documents. What is this? Word documents. It looks exactly and feels exactly like Microsoft tools without, oh, that's my friend's yoga teaching. I can't share that. It's too special. But yeah, it's the same formats, it's the same features. It's really similar. I think you'll have a great time with this.
So here's one of the things that currently exists in tech, which is if I send a Word document to somebody who has a Mac and they open it in Word on Mac, formatting gets mucked up. So almost invariably there's some formatting that gets mucked up. Will that happen here if let's say I had the advanced book and I open all my Word documents, am I going to have to reformat everything?
I think this will be relatively similar to how they look on Windows. Now, the reason for that is there's this file format called OpenOffice XML, and this is so it's a file, and in order to get it to display on a page, there's a bunch of rules you have to follow, and it's 6,000 pages of rules is the standard. So Apple was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to do maybe 1,000 pages of this, and so that's why it looks a little bit different. But
Oh,
these guys are only office. They're pretty true to the format. So I'm not gonna say it's gonna be perfect, but it's going to be where you don't have to mess with it much.
awesome. Thank you. You're amazing. So appreciate this information, and I will pass you back over to Karen of the Klassen family. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Thanks everyone for all the questions. They were awesome. Can't wait to get to know you guys more.
Hakeem, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you. I know in my heart that the antidote to all this too is heart-led leadership, and that's what you are all about. There's so many now that are rising up as creators, visionaries who are really imagining a new earth. And so we're just grateful for you and all you do and for saying yes to your mission.
I'm so blessed to have friends and community like you guys. I really love everything you guys are doing. Like, it's exactly why we created these products. And I really can't wait to see what we build together. I think that I was saying earlier, this is the greatest gift because they're forcing our hand, right? It's the biggest kick in the ass that now you have no choice but to create. So, that is what these next few years look like. Also, I'm going to say this. I thought about this more recently, is maybe hundreds of years ago, before, or was it before 1718, the life expectancy was 30 years old. You're working by 5 years old, you're dying by 30. Now we live till we're 80. So even if you don't have it figured out, don't worry about it, because I think you're allowed to be like 60 and still not have it figured out. We are in the process of doing it. Homo sapiens transitus. So it's chill. Like, we're all in the process of figuring it out. I'm really excited for the future because this thing that they're building is super brittle. Last thing to just drive it home. Next time you're at the airport, talk to one of those people who are the Canadian version of TSA. They're like this close to quitting. It's so brittle. It's
Mm.
so brittle. So we'll do our thing and it'll fall apart. So thank you. Thank you for having me. I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you, Hakeem. And just to let you know, you are invited to my 150th birthday party.
Ooh, yay.
My born day birthday party.
All right. It's 150th?
Yeah, well, I've been reading The Masters of the Far East by Barard Spalding. I read them years ago, the series, and in that book series, they talk about this is like the 1930s. It was an actual scientific expedition, but it turned out to be a spiritual experience.
Mhm.
And so one of the scientists wrote the books, and he was meeting people that were 500 and 900 years old.
Ooh. Yes.
And yeah, so it's incredible. So I'm just
Count
going 150 here, and then who knows?
count me in. Yeah, that's the coming of age. I'll be there. We'll have a
Absolutely.
giant cake with 150 candles on it.
Exactly. Thanks again. Thank you everyone for being here. Remember, this interview will be uploaded to our Life First Canada YouTube channel and our Rumble channel. Please share it out to your friends. We need to remind everyone of what's coming and how we can opt out. I do not consent, right? Thanks everyone. Together we rise. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to meet y'all.